Earlier today, I also interacted with Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri on the entire question of Indian democracy, stalling of parliament and the criticism of the Modi government, including Rahul Gandhi's speeches overseas. He spoke to me at the Lokmat National Conclave in Delhi.
As we celebrate 75 years of our independence and we celebrate Amrit Kal, we look at the next 25 years as India's decades and the next century as India's century. A lot of people, Mr. Puri, would be wondering that if the temple of democracy, which is parliament, doesn't function, this is what has been discussed in news, this is what citizens talk about. If the temple of democracy, which is parliament, doesn't function most often, as we've seen, for example, in the current budget session resuming, then is Indian democracy functioning?
We are only a very young, independent country, and moving ahead to 2047, when we will be celebrating 100 years as an independent country, that is only a small percentage of our overall existence. We are trying to do several things simultaneously. We are a robust democracy. We are a somewhat loud democracy. But democracy produces strong institutions, which I believe we have, and Parliament is one of them. But there are some people who, by virtue of the democratic ethos and what results the elections throw up, end up not having even 10% threshold of seats in the lower house to be called or to be formally designated as a leader of opposition. In both houses, they don't have the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha put together, they don't reach a figure of 100. They say that their voice is not heard. I was present in the House when the Honorable President addressed both houses of Parliament. This particular gentleman who goes to a foreign country says that he is not heard. He spoke for 42 minutes. Now maybe he's got selective amnesia, that he doesn't remember his 42-minute speech. Here is a gentleman who goes abroad and decries the absence of democracy. I don't know whether he was born in 1975 or not. That is the only instance I know of where in the history of India, democracy was killed brutally. Civil liberties were suspended, freedom of speech was removed, opposition leaders were locked up. That's the only instance. Who was in power in 1975? Put that aside. A previous government to which this young leader who goes and makes an issue of democracy outside our shores.
You're not naming him.
No, I'll name him in a minute. I have no hesitation in naming him. But I think you don't even need to leave it to everybody. I see all my young friends smiling. There was a government earlier which used a particular section in our constitution, 356, on 100 occasions. To do what? To dismiss legitimate state governments. This gentleman's grandmother used 356 50 times. We have been in power, or we have been in office, Modi ji, since 2014 May. Do any of you remember us ever having used 356? I'm asking you a factual question. Do any of you think we should use 356? Sometimes the individual concerned, proud Punjabi and Sikh like me says, oh my God, we should. Because sometimes I see things spiraling out of control. No, because ours is a system of cooperative federalism. We are constitutionalists. Because the Prime Minister believes in democracy, he's the only Prime Minister of India who, prior to assuming his position as Prime Minister, served for many years as a successful Chief Minister of a state and saw its transformation from devastation on account of an act of nature to bringing it back and making it a successful state. Now, what is democracy? Who is disrupting democracy? I can have a debate with you on that. But let me come back. My answer is India is the largest democracy, oldest democracy, and I'm adding it's the strongest democracy. We have a few comical figures. I'm choosing my words carefully, who want to go outside India and seek the intervention of the outside world to have a regime change in India. Why? Because he thinks, and he has an uncle there somewhere, who's saying, no, look at what he's saying, he's actually not wrong. Arey bhai, if I ever make a statement, no uncle or aunt of mine comes to my rescue. I am viciously trolled on social media, and because I'm in politics now, I wear it as a badge of honor. So I think people who go outside India and criticize and seek the intervention, I'm using it within quotes, of an outside government ought to be ashamed of themselves.
I think this is the longest I've had an interview talk about someone without naming them. So at least I'll frame it in my question this time. You're talking, of course, about Rahul Gandhi. He's been under fire from the BJP and the government in parliament for exactly what
I think he is going to be under fire from his own party. Let me make a prediction. When you... आप में से पंजाबी कितने हैं? साड़ी पंजाबी च कहावत हैगी है, ਉਹ ਗੱਲ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਤੂੰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਮੂੰਹ ਚੋਂ ਕੱਢ ਮੈਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਹਿਰੋਂ ਕੱਢਾਂਗੇ. Did you understand that?
Maybe little bit, but please.
Well, I'll translate it for you. You know, there's a little light-hearted saying in Punjabi that the spoken word says, you utter me, you speak me, and I will make sure you will have to leave the city. Some of the statements he has made are atrocious. And I think the problem is not coming from the BJP. It's coming from his own people. Some who are not saying it in public. They're telling it and say, यार ये कहाँ फंस गए? वो जो भी भारत जोड़ने की यात्रा में कोशिश की थी, वो सारी यहाँ पे यार नुकसान हो गया. पता नहीं क्या जुड़ा था, क्या नहीं जुड़ा था. But you have a problem on your hands. I must say, you have to count your assets and liabilities. As far as I'm concerned, I'm quite happy with how he's acting.
Because he's BJP's asset.
He is BJP's asset. I didn't say it. You said it.
I'm inferring from what you said.
You said it. I didn't say it. I mean, at the very least, the man has what is it called? Manoranjan value.
Okay, but let me seriously ask you. The opposition today, led by Congress Party and by Rahul Gandhi, they say that you have usurped the power of all institutions, including what's happening in Parliament. It's not functioning. Their voices are curbed down. Of course, Rajya Sabha chair has responded to that, that nobody's mics were switched off. But the larger question is, the opposition believes that there is no democracy as it used to be since BJP came to power. Why is that?
मैंने आपको पहले भी कहा कि भारत के इतिहास में एक ही सिचुएशन थी जून 1975 में जब डेमोक्रेसी को ताला मार के कहीं किसी अलमारी में बंद कर दिया था. That is June 1975. Today, democracy means press. Look at what the press is saying. My God. And because we have weak defamation laws, they get away with it. Look what social media is saying. There's no control on what social media says. You can cook up anything against anyone. And as I said, we haven't dismissed any state government. The Supreme Court is as vibrant as... I have to be careful when I use words on the Supreme Court. They're trying to run by metro system. They're trying to, legislate on other areas. Look, we are in a fascinating situation. Because Indian democracy today is the world's largest and the world's strongest, each institution under our democracy, the press, the judiciary, everybody's trying to come into his own. And they will exert themselves, but at the end of the day, the mass is wiser and more constant than the prince. The people will determine. I said in 2019, when people said, 230 aayenge, we did an exercise. How many people are beneficiaries of the different schemes that the Modi government had introduced? And I think the figure was 22 crores. कितने हमारे 2019 के चुनाव में हमारे को votes मिले? 22 crores. And I'm telling you now, this is an election, this is a democratic process where the Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister, has succeeded in doing one very major thing. He has proved good governance is also good politics. And if these guys continue the way they are, the next election in 2024 will even leave the others. I had predicted 303 in the 2019 election. I'm on record. And I'm telling you, if they continue like this, then apart from the entertainment value, our figure will be even higher than in the 2019 election.
So how much will it be? We are 1 year ahead of 1 year away from the election.
एक साल और 2 महीने रहते हैं. मैंने कहा, if it goes on like this, look, this is an era of numbers. You can quantify the progress. I happen to be the Housing and Urban Affairs Minister, and I tell you the Congress government between 2004 and 14, in a 10-year period, their spend on the urban space, cumulative of all the Kendriya Yojanaएं सब मिला के 1,57,000 crores था. In the 8 years, because Modi ji assumed responsibility in May 2014, the scheme started in June 2015. In the 8 years, the figure now as against that 1,57,000 crores is 18 lakh crores. So कहाँ उनका 10 साल में ये और हमारा उससे कितना गुना? No matter which way you look at it. Let me give you, they talk about petrol prices. On 2 occasions, 2021 नवंबर में और 2022 मई में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने यह निर्णय लिया कि वो सेंट्रल एक्साइज जो होती है पेट्रोल और डीजल पे उसको कम कर देंगे. और उस निर्णय के कारण 21 नवंबर 2021 और मई 2022 के पेट्रोल और डीजल का दाम 13 रुपए और 16 रुपए रिस्पेक्टिवली कम हुआ. आज स्थिति यह है मैडम कि बीजेपी रूल स्टेट और नॉन बीजेपी रूल स्टेट में 15 रुपए पर लीटर का अंतर है in the petrol prices. 15 rupees in 2 neighboring states. और ये इन्फ्लेशन की बात करते हैं. The रेवड़ी पॉलिटिक्स और लूट मचाई हुई है. And if you look at the actual facts, you will discover the difference between good governance and this thing. क्यों? Because they were not willing to reduce the VAT in their, which is a percentage charged in the state governments. So there's a difference in pricing between 15 rupees and 12 rupees between BJP states and non-BJP states.
Well, speaking of Revdi politics and more, on the other side, we will be discussing the old pension scheme clamour. 17 lakh Maharashtra government employees are on an indefinite strike. Will the BJP government bow down to their demands? They've been opposed to bringing back the OPS. More on that on the other side.